Jan Koum is well known for being the co-founder and former CEO of WhatsApp, but few people are aware of the challenges he faced on the way to where he is now. He began in a disadvantaged position, rose through the ranks to become one of the world's tech billionaires, and today his success story serves as an inspiration for would-be entrepreneurs all around the world. This is the story of a young man who succeeded despite all odds. Jan Koum's childhood and early life. Jan was born on February the 24th, 1974, in a remote part of Kyiv, Ukraine. Being Jewish and residing in a rural region during this time was undoubtedly difficult because it was the Soviet era. He resided in a home with no power and hot water, and his country typically experienced temperatures below zero. His family made the decision to immigrate to America in order to flee the adverse circumstances in their home country. He, his mother and grandmother went to Mountain View, California in 1992 with the expectation that his father would follow them later, but he never made it there. In the US, Koum and his mother were given food stamps, welfare and housing assistance for a modest 2-bedroom apartment. Koum, who was 16 at the time, took on a job as a janitor at a grocery shop in order to make ends meet while his mother worked as a babysitter. And just when it seemed like things couldn't get any worse, Koum's mother received a cancer diagnosis. She passed away from the disease 3 years after Jan's father did. But Koum always held the belief that anything that did not kill you simply made you stronger, and that his hardships were only increasing his resilience. So when he was 18, he discovered his love for technology and began teaching himself computer networking by reading manuals. He couldn't afford to buy new manuals, so in order to save money, he borrowed them from a used bookstore and returned them once he had finished reading them. He completed his training in computer networking over the course of the following 2 years, and he was preparing to begin his next assignment. Despite having learned computer programming on his own, Koum continued his study and attended San Jose State University. He met Brian Acton, the co-founder of WhatsApp, there in 1997 while working part-time as a security tester for Ernst & Young while still in school. Yahoo was one of E&Y's clients, and Koum was given the opportunity to accept a position there while still a student at San Jose University. Koum decided to leave college in 1997, and he and Acton worked for Yahoo for 9 years. In 2007, they both decided to resign their jobs and spend a year backpacking in South America. Both of them applied to Facebook and Twitter after their vacation, but they were both turned down. They had no idea that a few years later, they would have an app that would rival these industry titans. Developing WhatsApp. As innovative technologies like Skype started to appear in 2009, Jan Koum started to develop an idea for how to enhance the user experience. As a young person, he struggled to stay in touch with his family because it was so expensive. In order to help others in a similar situation, he developed a user-friendly cross-platform messaging app that increased the affordability of phone calls and texts for family and friends. On Koum's birthday, February the 24th, he met his future WhatsApp co-founder Acton for Ultimate Frisbee, one of their favorite pastimes. It was at this meeting that he first pitched the concept for the messaging service. The company was formally established as WhatsApp Inc. on the same day. As he experimented with the initial versions, he had only 3 rules. His service would categorically not carry advertising, an experience that was satisfyingly absent from his Soviet upbringing. It would not store messages and thereby endanger the privacy of individual citizens, and it would maintain a relentless focus on delivering a dependable, friction-free user experience. Adapting for success. When the app was first released in May 2009, it failed miserably and kept crashing, but when Koum introduced WhatsApp 2.0, which included a messaging feature, he saw a dramatic increase in active users to 250,000. He went to Acton and offered him the position as a co-founder, and Acton accepted after persuading his Yahoo pals to contribute $250,000. Even while WhatsApp's growth seemed encouraging, operating it cost money. But the company's founders agreed to sacrifice pay during the initial years. They also contributed funds from their life savings to their firm, and in the end, their tenacity, commitment, and hard work paid off, and it paid off spectacularly. By 2011, the funds began to flow. Venture capitalists were interested in the app, but Kum and Acton were wary of working with just one. However, then they got to know Jim Gertz from Sequoia Capital, who they felt best served their interests and who agreed to the advertising terms they set. Sequoia provided them with $8 million in 2011 and then $50 million in 2013. In a relatively short period of time, the app had enormous success, and by 2011, it was ranked among the top 20 apps available in Apple's US App Store. A Facebook purchase. Facebook offered the co-founders of WhatsApp a $19 billion offer in 2014 that they couldn't reject. $4 billion in cash, $12 billion in Facebook shares, and an extra $3 billion in restricted stock units were given to them. But WhatsApp will continue to be independent, with Jan and Brian mainly managing it. This was such a tremendous victory for them. Although Kum and Acton continued to work with Facebook for a while, they finally parted ways over concerns about advertising and user privacy protection, which were the two guiding principles of the company. Jan Kum now. Jan is now one of the most successful business people in the world despite having been raised on food stamps. As of 2022, his net worth is estimated to be $9.8 billion by Forbes. Jan now has the means to live a luxury lifestyle that he couldn't previously afford because of his remarkable financial worth. He currently has property worth about $450 million in the US alone. Kum currently owns 7 acres of property with more than 100 feet of ocean frontage in Malibu alone, totaling $187 million in value. He also owns luxury items including the $220 million yacht Moonrise, the $75 million yacht Magambo, air-cooled Porsches, Ferraris, and other stuff. There was even a point where he had an amazing collection of Porsches. So amazing, he was able to part with 10 of the vehicles simply because he hadn't had the opportunity to use them. Jan Kum's perseverance and hard work paid off as he went from being a poor fugitive in the US to developing the most popular mobile messaging app in the world. Did Jan Kum's story inspire you? Share your thoughts in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Bye!